Okay, this tutorial is going to cover how to use Vlookup to merge spreadsheet data. And I've got two sheets here. In each sheet I have a unique identifier for each record, but many of them are common between both sheets. That's what's required. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to start out by sorting the sheets by that unique identifier. In the process that I'm doing here in Google Spreadsheets, it's going to be very similar in OpenOffice as well as in Excel. Okay, my data has a header row, so I'm going to sort by this ID field here. Okay, so you can see I've got a couple of columns of data in each sheet. I've got a code, I've got a balance. This is just some data we want to try to bring over. So we can see if we can merge this data. Okay, so let's say, for example, we want to, and I'll start off let's say we wanted to bring over the 2013 balance to this other sheet, which has a couple of previous years in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click into the cell. Well, actually, first I'll start with a header so that it matches. And I'm going to click into the cell and I'm going to start typing equals Vlookup. And you can see as soon as I start typing that, it comes up with a little bit of a help window here. And I believe Excel does the same thing. I'm going to go through the instruction, but it's important to know that that'll kind of give you a tip as to what you need to type here. Okay, I'm going to keep typing it out here. Vlookup, and I'm going to do a parentheses. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do at this point is select the unique identifier, the cell that's corresponding in the same row. Okay. Then I'm going to put a comma. Next, I'm going to click over to the sheet that I'm going to be looking information up from. Okay. And what I need to do is I need to select an array. If this had more columns, it wouldn't be necessary to select all of the columns. And I'm holding the shift key and I'm selecting a range. The important thing about this range is the leftmost column needs to be the reference key or the unique identifier. So if these were, for example, 3 columns in the center of the spreadsheet, I would again need to start with the unique identifier or the ID column. Okay. Now I'm going to put a comma, and I'm going to say I'm going to put a 3. And the reason why is because in the array or in the range, I've got 1, 2, 3, and it's the third column in the array that I want for the information. This is the information I'm trying to look up or match upon the ID. I'm going to put a comma, and I'm going to type false, if I can spell it correctly. Okay, and then I'm going to close that parenthesis and hit enter. Okay, so it looks like this ID had a balance of $257 in 2013, and that looks correct. Just to explain what the false does, it would be an exact match. If you want to have an exact match, let's say, for example, we put true instead of false, and over here on this in this unique identifier, let's say this digit was or this ID was almost exactly the same, but it was missing a digit. If we put true, it would actually match upon that. Even though it's not exact, it would consider it a very close match, and it would return results. We want exact match, so we put false. Okay. So what you can do here is you can just grab the corner and drag down, and I've got 250 some odd records. I don't think I'm going to do them all. Okay, you can see the NA here did not find a value. So you can see that this row, this ID number is not found in this sheet. So you can also use Vlookup for the purposes of finding out which records are not contained in a given data set, which has been very helpful. I mean, you can simply populate the columns with bogus data, 1s or 0s or something, and then kind of go down through and see if you can get them in match. Okay, so you can continue to drag down, and you can see that it's going to populate the entire column for me. Okay, and you can see we have a handful of records that are not found. Okay, one thing that's important to note is if I click into one of these cells, you can see here that the formula is still there. And this can be good if you're using the information and the information is dynamically changing. What that means is anytime something changes on the other sheet, let's say this person's paid off their balance, it's going to update this sheet. That can be good. It can also be bad, because if you're using this information and other people are possibly working in the spreadsheet and they don't realize that you're linking to it, and they're changing values or they're changing columns or rows, and they're not changing the reference in the formula, it could throw off your numbers. Okay, so what you can do is you can say copy, and I'm just right clicking to bring up this menu here. I'm going to right click, I'm going to say copy. I'm going to right click again, I'm going to say paste special, and this time I'm going to paste the values only. Okay, so now if we click into a cell, you can see that the value is there and there is no longer a formula. If I go over here to the other sheet, and this person pays off their balance, it doesn't change in this the sheet that we use to merge the data. So it really depends on how you're using the data and whether or not you're the only person that has access to it. For things like compiling information and that type of thing, I typically would paste the values. If there's something that's continuously being worked on, you may want to retain the formula because it'll dynamically update the value in the reference sheet. So, okay, so let's try it again real quick just to make sure. This time we'll go the other way. Let's bring this code 2 over to sheet 1 just to run through it one more time here. So again, it's not necessary, but I'm just going to put code 2. This is just all right. Before we do this, I'm just going to insert a couple of columns here so I can demonstrate the array portion of it. I'm going to click on the cell here. I'm going to type equals Vlookup, again, parenthesis. And again, I select my unique identifier in the same row that we're using. And I'm going to type a comma. I'll go over to my sheet that I'm using to look up the information. And this time I'm going to select C, hold the shift key down, select D, and I'm going to type a comma. This time I'm going to put the number 2. And the reason why is because this is the first column, this is the second column. If we were bringing this 2011 balance over, we would type a 3 or a 4 and so on. So that number, this 2, is the column in the array or in the selection that you're actually wanting to bring over for information. Okay, so then I'm going to click a comma and I'm going to type false, and again that means I want an exact match. So the numbers have to match exactly. It won't match on a partial. So I'm going to hit enter. Okay, there it is. Just drag it down a little bit here, and I expect we'll see some NAs. Again, this ID is not found in this sheet. So you can see that that could be used to match data sets and compare information. Let's say we were to go through and strip out all of the NAs from this sheet and all of the NAs from this sheet and then sort by the unique identifier. You would then basically have two matching columns that you could then do. You could basically copy and paste information. So hopefully this video has been helpful. It's something I use on a regular basis. If you work a lot in spreadsheets or work with data and you're always trying to find ways to match data up from different data sources, this is a great way to do it. Please leave questions or comments below. Thanks for watching.